Chapter 1. The Quiet Pattern. He learned early how to stay invisible, not by hiding, but by blending. People remembered his face only after he left. That was intentional. He studied reactions like languages. Smiles were tools, silence was armor. He did not feel emptiness, he felt clarity. Others called it calm. Teachers praised his discipline. Neighbors trusted him instinctively. Trust came easily to him. Too easily. He watched people more than he spoke. He memorized routines. Patterns comforted him. Patterns revealed weakness. At night he replayed conversations, not emotionally, structurally. Every word had weight, every pause had meaning. He slept well. Dreams were unnecessary. He did not imagine violence. He imagined control. Control was quieter. Control was cleaner. Chapter 2. First, awareness. He realized he was different at 16, not because of thoughts, but because of reactions. Others panicked. He calculated. Others grieved. He observed. A classmate cried during an emergency drill. He noted breathing patterns, sweat, fear response timing. He wondered why emotions slowed people down. Teachers misread his detachment as maturity. That mistake followed him everywhere. He learned to imitate concern. Eyebrows lowered, voice softened, eyes slightly narrowed. Empathy became choreography. He practiced it privately. Mirror sessions lasted hours. Expressions refined. No one noticed. They never do. Inside, nothing shifted. No guilt. No thrill, just understanding. Understanding felt powerful. Power felt natural. Chapter 3. The Need to Define. He did not crave chaos. He craved definition. Life felt noisy without structure. People disrupted patterns constantly. They lied to themselves. They contradicted their desires. He disliked inconsistency. It offended logic. He began categorizing people. Predictable, useful, irrelevant, dangerous. He placed himself outside the system. Observer status. Neutral. Untouched. He read psychology obsessively, not to feel, to map behavior. Diagnosis fascinated him, labels amused him. He never searched himself. He didn't need a name. Names limited things. Freedom came from anonymity. He smiled at the irony. The most dangerous thing was being unnoticed, and he mastered that. Chapter 4. Control without force. He understood force was inefficient. Noise attracted attention. Attention disrupted systems. He preferred influence. Words shifted people more effectively than actions. Tone mattered. Timing mattered more. He learned how to plant doubts, how to encourage isolation subtly, how to withdraw support at precise moments. People collapsed internally. They blamed themselves. That pleased him, not emotionally, logically. He saw how fragile identity was, how dependent people were on validation. He withheld it strategically. Friends drifted, relationships fractured, careers derailed. No fingerprints, no records. Just absence. He felt no responsibility, only confirmation. The system worked. He refined it patiently. Every outcome was data. Every reaction was proof. He was not cruel. He was precise. Chapter 5. The Threshold. The first death was not planned emotionally. It was inevitable structurally. A variable refused correction. Escalation became necessary. He did not rush. He observed longer, waited for alignment. Opportunity presented itself naturally. It always does. Afterward, nothing changed internally. No shock, no regret, only adjustment. He noted physiological responses. Heart rate stable, breathing controlled, memory intact, sleep uninterrupted. That confirmed it. He was not broken, he was functional. The world labeled people like him monsters. That was inefficient language. He preferred accuracy. He crossed a line others feared, not because of desire, but because of clarity. The threshold closed behind him silently. He did not look back. He never would. Chapter 6. Adjustment Phase. After the threshold, routine returned quickly. That reassured him. Routine meant stability. He refined behaviors subtly, smiles slightly shorter, pauses slightly longer, nothing noticeable, just enough to recalibrate. He paid attention to news cycles, language used by reporters, words chosen to soften reality. He appreciated euphemisms. They mirrored his own methods. People reacted predictably. Fear surged briefly, then faded into distraction. That taught him something valuable. Attention spans were short, memory was fragile. He adjusted timing accordingly, spacing events logically, avoiding patterns obvious to outsiders. Inside, everything remained structured. No excitement, no urgency, only process. He felt efficient. Efficiency was comforting. Comfort replaced hesitation. Hesitation was unnecessary now. Chapter 7. The mask evolves. Masks must evolve to survive. He understood that instinctively. People expected grief, so he offered concern. They expected anxiety, so he delivered restraint. He became reliable. Dependable men are trusted blindly. Trust granted access. Access expanded options. He listened more than ever. Confessions spilled easily around him. People loved being heard. He stored secrets carefully, not as leverage, as insight. Desperation had patterns. Loneliness had rhythms. Hope created blind spots. He adapted his presence accordingly. To some, he was stability. To others, relief. None saw depth. Depth frightened people. He remained shallow intentionally. Surface-level humanity, perfectly safe, perfectly convincing. He became invisible again. Chapter 8. Escalation. Without impulse, impulse was a weakness. He avoided it meticulously. Each decision followed internal criteria. Risk assessment came first, environment second, human variables last. He learned cities had moods. Crowds diluted accountability. Silence magnified consequences. He preferred transitions, stations, parking structures, temporary spaces, places no one owned emotionally. He left nothing behind, no signatures, no habits. Every action closed cleanly. Closure mattered to him, not emotionally, operationally. Loose ends suggested incompetence. Incompetence was unacceptable. He felt no urgency to repeat actions. Waiting sharpened accuracy. Patience filtered mistakes. The absence of need empowered him. Need was loud. He remained quiet. Quiet survived. Chapter 9. Observation of consequence. He monitored reactions carefully. Families responded differently than expected. Grief was inconsistent. Some collapsed, some hardened, some redirected anger aimlessly. Society searched for meaning. He found that inefficient. Meaning complicated resolution. Randomness simplified it. Investigators followed procedure. Procedure followed rules. Rules followed assumptions. He exploited assumptions passively. He never challenged systems. He allowed them to fail naturally. Failure required no interference, only patience. He noted which details authorities ignored, patterns they overvalued, data they dismissed. That knowledge accumulated quietly. He was learning the architecture of pursuit. Understanding pursuit meant understanding safety. Safety was not avoidance. Safety was predictability. Predictability was human weakness. He catalogued it carefully. Chapter 10. Internal silence. Something curious happened over time. Thoughts slowed, not dulled, clarified. Internal dialogue reduced itself. Decisions arrived fully formed, no debate, no conflict. He felt balanced, centered, unburdened by contradiction. Others called it confidence. He called it alignment. Emotion was inefficient processing. He no longer simulated it internally, only externally when required. That distinction mattered. He noticed his reflection differently now, not recognition, assessment. Everything appeared functional, no deterioration, no instability. That reassured him. He was not spiraling, he was stabilizing. Growth had occurred, controlled, intentional. The system within him had finalized, and it was ready for expansion. Chapter 11. The first disturbance. The disturbance didn't come from outside. That surprised him. It surfaced internally. A minor miscalculation. Nothing visible. Just a moment where expectation failed. Someone reacted differently than predicted. Not dramatically. Subtly. That bothered him. He replayed the interaction mentally, adjusted variables, found no clear error. That absence unsettled him. Systems were supposed to explain outcomes. Unexplainable reactions introduced noise. Noise threatened order. He monitored himself carefully afterward, checked routines, verified timelines, everything aligned. Still, the disturbance lingered. Not fear, irritation. He disliked inefficiency. He disliked uncertainty more. The mind required precision. He resolved to tighten observation. Less assumption, more verification. The system would adapt. Chapter 12. Peripheral awareness. He began noticing eyes, not watching, remembering. People recall details now, small things, tone, timing, presence, nothing accusatory, but awareness had sharpened around him. He adjusted immediately, reduced frequency, increased randomness, moved socially without attachment. He became forgettable again, or so he believed. Still, something persisted, a faint pressure at the edge of interactions, as if the environment itself was adapting. That fascinated him. Systems evolved when stressed. So did organisms. He wasn't threatened. He was being challenged. Challenge refined performance. He welcomed it cautiously. Too much confidence dulled instincts. He preferred alertness. Alertness felt clean, necessary, alive. He reminded himself, awareness did not equal danger. Not yet. Chapter 13. The illusion of distance. Distance had always protected him. Emotional distance, geographical distance, temporal distance. But distance began to shrink. News stories overlapped in language, timelines compressed, patterns emerged publicly, incorrect patterns. That concerned him less. What concerned him was proximity, events clustered closer together, not by action, by perception. People connected unrelated points. Humans needed narratives. He had relied on that weakness. Now the narrative was accelerating. Even flawed narratives could mobilize attention. Attention disrupted quiet systems. He disliked disruption. He adjusted again. Longer pauses, wider spacing. He told himself this was strategic patience, not restraint. Restraint implied desire. He felt none. Still, distance no longer felt infinite. It felt conditional. That was new. Chapter 14. Reflection in others. He noticed it during conversation. A hesitation, a micro pause, someone watching his reaction instead of speaking. That reversed the dynamic. Observation flowed the wrong way. He corrected it smoothly, redirected attention, but the moment lingered. Later, another instance, different person, same pause. He considered coincidence, then dismissed it. Coincidence repeated suggested pattern. Pattern suggested awareness. Awareness suggested proximity. He analyzed his exterior carefully, voice steady, expression neutral, behavior consistent. Nothing betrayed internal alignment, yet perception wasn't rational. Perception followed intuition. Intuition was dangerous. He had always exploited it. Now others were using it unconsciously. That irritated him. Intuition lacked discipline. It created false positives, but false positives still mobilized fear. Fear accelerated systems. Acceleration invited scrutiny. Scrutiny was inefficient. Chapter 15. Pressure without touch. Pressure arrived without contact. No questions, no accusations, just presence, increased patrols, more lights at night, community vigilance meetings. He attended one, sat quietly, listened carefully. Fear had spread unevenly. Some people exaggerated, others denied entirely. Both reactions were predictable. What wasn't predictable was tone, calmer, more deliberate. People weren't panicking, they were organizing. Organization was dangerous. Chaos could be exploited. Order resisted manipulation. He adjusted posture, breathing, thought cadence. The system was tightening externally. Internally, he felt no panic, only calculation. Pressure tested structures. Strong structures held. Weak ones fractured. He believed himself strong. But belief was irrelevant. Only outcome mattered. And outcomes were becoming harder to control. Chapter 16. Controlled Fractures. Control didn't disappear. It fractured. Small inconsistencies emerged. Timing slipped by seconds. Memory replayed moments twice. He corrected immediately. Correction became habitual. Habits drew patterns. Patterns risked visibility. He slowed deliberately, forced pauses, extended observation windows. The world responded strangely. Silence lingered longer than expected. People avoided eye contact more often. Not fear, recognition. That unsettled him. Recognition implied narrative acceptance. Even false narratives gained power when shared. He recalibrated internal logic, reduced exposure, minimized presence. But absence also attracted notice now. Too quiet felt intentional. Intentional behavior suggested agency. Agency invited investigation. He existed between extremes, neither visible nor invisible. Balance grew difficult. Difficulty sharpened awareness. Awareness sharpened discomfort. Chapter 17. The body remembers. The mind adjusted faster than the body. He noticed this reluctantly. Muscles tightened unnecessarily. Sleep shortened without reason. Dreams returned. That angered him. Dreams served no function. They introduced noise. In one dream, he stood still while others moved. He woke before understanding its meaning. During the day, he monitored posture, corrected tension. Breathing exercises helped briefly, then stopped working. The body retained memory differently. It responded to pressure without logic. That bothered him deeply. He trusted cognition, not instinct. Instinct was primitive. Yet instinct activated before thought now. At crosswalks, in crowds, near reflective surfaces, he catalogued these responses clinically. Symptoms were data. Data could be optimized. Still, optimization lagged. The body was learning independently. That was unacceptable. Chapter 18. External Variables. The investigation remained unnamed, unofficial, distributed. That made it resilient. No single authority to misdirect, no hierarchy to exploit. People shared information casually, fragments combined organically. That was inefficient by design, but effective. He studied their methods carefully, not to interfere, to anticipate. Anticipation allowed redirection, or so he believed. One evening, he noticed a familiar face twice. Different locations, different times, not following, sampling. He smiled politely. The smile wasn't returned. That mattered. Later, another face, another non-reaction. Neutrality had shifted. He had crossed an unseen threshold. Variables multiplied externally. He no longer controlled the equation. He adapted by simplification. Simplification reduced error, but reduced options too. Options had been his strength. Chapter 19. The fear of stillness movement no longer felt safe. Stillness felt worse. He stood at a window one night. Lights pulsed rhythmically, orderly, predictable. He had once found comfort there. Now it felt distant, as if the city no longer responded to him. That separation frightened him unexpectedly. Fear arrived subtly, not panic. Recognition of vulnerability. He disliked the sensation. It implied loss of dominance. He tested control internally, ran through memories, reconstructed sequences. Everything remained intact. Yet confidence had thinned. He noticed time stretching. Moments lingered. Decisions slowed. Slowness risked error. Error risked exposure. Exposure ended systems permanently. He reminded himself of fundamentals. Emotion was irrelevant. Outcome mattered. Stillness did not mean surrender. It meant recalibration. He would act when necessary. For now, observation continued, but observation felt passive. That was dangerous. Chapter 20. The Quiet Shift. The shift occurred without announcement. One morning, routine broke. A path closed unexpectedly. A familiar location inaccessible. No explanation given. That unsettled him deeply. Systems rarely changed without cause. Cause implied intention. Intention implied awareness. He rerouted calmly, but awareness lingered. Later he noticed new faces in old places. They didn't watch him. They watched everyone. Containment, not pursuit. The environment itself had adapted. He was no longer the anomaly. He was the variable being measured. That realization struck sharply. For the first time he considered inevitability, not capture, consequence. Systems always corrected imbalance. He had exploited that principle. Now it turned inward. Correction had begun, silently, efficiently, without emotion. He respected that, even as it closed around him. Chapter 21. Internal Negotiation. He began negotiating with himself. Not emotionally, logically. He reviewed past decisions for inefficiencies, found none significant. That troubled him more than error would have. Perfection suggested closure. Closure implied an ending. He reframed the situation. Systems evolved. Adaptation was required. He reduced routines, eliminated redundancies, minimized exposure windows. Yet the sense of pressure remained. Pressure without direction was intolerable. He tested hypothetical futures. Each ended similarly. Containment, observation, resolution. He dismissed pessimism. Pessimism lacked utility. Still, the mind resisted reassurance. Thought loops formed. Loops wasted energy. He corrected them manually. That required effort. Effort indicated resistance. Resistance suggested fear. He paused. Acknowledging fear was inefficient, but denying it cost more. He allowed the concept briefly, then compartmentalized it. Chapter 22. The Mirror Test. Mirrors became problematic, not because of reflection, because of interpretation. He saw precision, control, consistency. Yet something subtle had shifted. His eyes no longer appeared detached. They reacted faster than intention. Micro-expressions surfaced briefly. He practiced neutrality again, facial muscles trained, breathing regulated. Still, reflection lagged behind cognition. That delay disturbed him. Delay implied loss of synchronization. He conducted internal tests, emotional recall, memory access, behavioral rehearsal. Everything functioned. Yet the mirror disagreed. It showed adaptation under stress. Stress suggested vulnerability. He turned away abruptly. Avoidance was new. He logged it mentally, an anomaly. An anomaly required monitoring. Monitoring required attention. Attention created exposure. He resolved to limit reflection, both literal and psychological. Focus narrowed. Narrow focus felt safe, too safe. Chapter 23. Diminishing returns. Outcomes no longer provided satisfaction, not boredom, diminished return. Completion felt hollow. Processes ended without resonance. He analyzed the sensation clinically. Achievement relied on imbalance. Imbalance had been corrected externally. Stability produced emptiness. That realization unsettled him. He had thrived in disruption. Now disruption risked immediate response. The environment anticipated deviation. Prediction had replaced reaction. That was impressive and dangerous. He adjusted strategies, reduced engagement entirely, but disengagement removed purpose. Purpose stabilized cognition. Without it, thought drifted. Drift introduced unpredictability. Unpredictability attracted scrutiny. He reintroduced structure artificially, schedules without necessity, tasks without outcome, simulation of purpose. It worked temporarily, but artificial systems degraded quickly. Entropy returned. He felt time accelerate strangely, days compressed, moments blurred, efficiency declined. He recognized the pattern, burnout. He despised the term. Chapter 24. Observation from the other side. He became aware of observation, not surveillance, evaluation. The difference mattered. Surveillance sought evidence, evaluation measured behavior, behavior over time revealed intent, intent predicted outcome. He had once relied on that model. Now it targeted him. He noticed subtle prompts, minor disruptions, questions framed casually, delays introduced intentionally. The system tested responses. He responded optimally, calm, neutral, predictable. Predictability was no longer safe. Safe behaviors stood out now. He considered deviation deliberately. Rejected the idea. Deviation accelerated correction. He needed ambiguity. Ambiguity required inconsistency. Inconsistency felt reckless. He introduced controlled errors, minor, harmless, human. The response was immediate, not punitive, confirmatory. They adjusted parameters. Adaptation occurred faster than expected. He smiled faintly, acknowledging efficiency, even against him. Chapter 25. The acceptable ending. He contemplated endings, not escape, not confrontation, resolution. Systems favored closure. Closure preserved stability. He analyzed acceptable outcomes. Containment ranked highest. Predictable, clean, minimal disruption. Identity dissolution ranked second. Absorption into anonymity. Possible but unstable. Resistance ranked lowest. Resistance wasted resources. He respected efficiency too much for that. Acceptance emerged quietly, not surrender. Alignment. He could coexist with consequence. That thought surprised him. Acceptance felt calm. Calm without control. A new sensation. He tested it. Let go briefly. Nothing collapsed. The world continued functioning. That disturbed him profoundly. His absence was survivable. That truth undermined identity. Identity had been his anchor. Without it, he was a variable. Variables were resolved eventually. He understood now. The system wasn't hunting him, it was waiting. And waiting was more powerful than pursuit. Chapter 26. Controlled exposure. He allowed himself to be seen, not dramatically, incrementally. Small deviations surfaced, arriving earlier than expected, leaving later than usual. He answered questions fully, too fully. Transparency disarmed suspicion. Or so he calculated, but transparency also created data. Data created profiles. Profiles narrowed possibilities. He recognized the trade-off immediately, yet continued anyway. Control required risk. Risk required presence. Presence invited scrutiny. Scrutiny confirmed relevance. Relevance delayed erasure. He chose relevance, even if temporary. He watched reactions closely. They adjusted around him seamlessly. No tension, no pressure, just calibration. The absence of resistance unnerved him. He preferred opposition. Opposition validated existence. Accommodation implied inevitability. He reduced exposure again. The system compensated effortlessly. His movements mattered less each day. Chapter 27. The illusion of choice. Options appeared. He recognized them as artifacts, manufactured alternatives. Paths diverged visually, but converged structurally. He tested one deliberately. Nothing changed. He tested another. Still nothing. The realization arrived calmly. Choice existed only at the surface. Depth was pre-assigned. That didn't anger him. It impressed him. A system capable of illusion without deception. Freedom simulated perfectly. He reflected on past decisions. They had always aligned with outcomes, not by fate, by design. Design was elegant. Elegance deserved respect. He ceased resisting internally. Resistance consumed energy. Energy had diminishing returns. Acceptance optimized function. Function reduced friction. Friction caused noise. Noise attracted intervention. He preferred silence. Silence felt earned. For the first time, effort ceased entirely. Chapter 28. Dissolution. Identity began to thin, not collapse, diffuse. He noticed it in memory. Names lost emotional weight, faces blurred, events flattened, significance evaporated. He retained information. But meaning leaked away. That was unexpected. Meaning had once driven behavior. Without it, action became optional. Optional actions felt unnecessary. He stopped rehearsing responses, stopped planning contingencies. Spontaneity returned briefly. It felt foreign, inefficient. He corrected course, reduced input, reduced output. Minimal engagement preserved equilibrium. People stopped asking about him. Not abruptly, gradually. His absence filled itself. He had become redundant. Redundancy ensured resolution. He accepted that quietly. Resistance would only delay outcome. Delay offered no benefit. He waited. Chapter 29. The Quiet Intervention. The meeting was informal. No room, no table, just walking side by side. The other man spoke calmly, used neutral language, no accusations, no conclusions, only observations. He listened attentively. There was nothing to defend. Defense implied contest. Contest implied relevance. He responded minimally, accurately. That pleased the man. Efficiency recognized efficiency. They stopped walking eventually. A boundary reached naturally. The man nodded once. No handshake, no farewell. The conversation had ended before it began. He felt lighter afterward, not relieved, resolved. Intervention didn't feel like capture, it felt like correction, a system returning to balance. Balance was preferable to chaos. He returned home calmly. He slept deeply, without dreams, without rehearsal, without thought. Chapter 30. End state morning arrived without urgency. He noticed details precisely. Light through the window, dust suspended briefly, sounds aligned correctly. Everything functioned. He dressed carefully, habitual motions executed flawlessly. No anticipation followed, no fear, no hope. He understood this was the end state, not an ending, a stable configuration. The system had absorbed him, not punished, not erased, resolved. He no longer required narrative. Narratives belonged to observers. He was no longer observed, only accounted for. That distinction mattered. Outside, life continued unchanged. Inside, nothing resisted, nothing reached, nothing desired. The process completed itself quietly, as all efficient systems do. Chapter 31. Aftermath. The city did not grieve. It recalibrated. News cycles moved on within days. Other stories replaced the space, more urgent, more profitable. Investigators noticed the quiet, not relief, adjustment, as if the city had rehearsed this ending. Crime statistics stabilized. Neighborhoods resumed rhythm. Fear did not linger, it redistributed. The absence felt clean, too clean. One detective wrote a note, "Closure achieved without impact." He underlined impact, then crossed it out. The case no longer required attention, it required forgetting. Chapter 32. The survivors' families spoke rarely. When they did, words felt insufficient. Not because of grief, because of confusion. There was no explanation that fit, no motive that satisfied. No justice that felt proportional. Support groups dissolved quietly. Attendance dropped. Silence replaced anger. One mother said, "I don't know who to be angry at anymore." No one answered. Anger requires direction. This case offered none. Chapter 33. The Profile. Psychologists reviewed his profile repeatedly. Each revision removed certainty. He did not fit escalation models. He did not seek recognition. He avoided symbolism. He avoided chaos. His actions were not expressive. They were corrective. One expert concluded he didn't kill to feel something. He killed to reduce noise. The report was archived. It was never cited again. Noise reduction was not an acceptable motive. Chapter 34. The house. The house where he lived was sold quickly, renovated thoroughly, painted white. New tenants moved in. They reported nothing unusual, no sounds, no smells, no sensations. Inspectors found no hidden rooms, no trophies, no secrets. The house had been efficient, not expressive. It had contained a process, not a life. Chapter 35. Missed signals. Colleagues revisited past interactions, emails reread, meetings reconsidered. Nothing stood out. That was the problem. He had been punctual, polite, unremarkable. Warning signs require contrast. He offered none. One supervisor admitted, "I never had to think about him." That sentence appeared in 3 reports. No one noticed the repetition. Chapter 36. Media fatigue documentaries were proposed, then cancelled. Producers found the story lacking. No dramatic arc, no transformation, no confrontation. There was no moment of revelation, no final speech, just consistency. Audiences prefer monsters or martyrs, not systems that function too well. The story faded, not censored, just ignored. Chapter 37. The pattern that ended. Analysts confirmed the sequence would not repeat. Conditions no longer aligned. The variables were gone. The pattern had resolved itself. Crime prevention units updated models. Predictions adjusted slightly. Risk decreased marginally. The system marked the case, resolved through removal of anomaly. No further action required. Chapter 38. Personal effects. His belongings fit in 2 boxes. Clothes neutral, books technical, no photographs, no personal correspondence, no evidence of attachment. One officer paused over a notebook. Blank pages. Everyone. Unused potential, or intentional restraint. The notebook was discarded. Nothing inside needed preservation. Chapter 39. Quiet recognition. Among professionals, the case became shorthand, not a name, a reference. "If it looks like that one," someone would say, everyone understood. No one elaborated. The case had taught restraint, not fear. It reminded them that the most dangerous minds do not announce themselves. They integrate, then act, then disappear. Chapter 40. What remains? Nothing remained publicly. No marker, no lesson taught explicitly. But subtle changes persisted. Protocols refined. Assumptions softened. People trusted normality less, but quietly. That was the legacy. Not terror, not infamy. Just a minor adjustment in how attention was distributed. And that, perhaps, was the most unsettling outcome of all.